Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the Hyperactive Conservative. I'm John Gale. I hope you are having a blessed day. It is a beautiful day here in southwestern Ohio. And as we wait for some folks to tune in, we want to welcome all of you to our Facebook page, the Hyperactive Conservative, as well as our YouTube channel, which is also called the Hyperactive Conservative. Make sure you hit that like, share, start a watch party right now. That would be great. We want to welcome Anita and Terry right now watching live on the Hyperactive Conservative Facebook live page. Make sure you invite your friends. Guys, it's real simple. You know the drill. Hit that like, share, give us a thumbs up, and let everyone know that you're watching the Hyperactive Conservative. I've got some very funny, crazy Corona's news memes for you. That's up next on the Hyperactive Conservative. You're going to dig these. They are quite humorous, and we want to get right into them. Very funny memes as we get started today. Oh, let's start. Have you heard about all these murder hornets? The murder hornets, they're coming to take us away. Oh, my. Here's one of the funny memes of what they look like up close. Oh, it's a little Jason mask with machine guns and Freddy Krueger knives, all kinds of craziness. He's got them by the wings, though. We'll still overcome. If we can overcome COVID, we can overcome the murder hornets. It's always something, isn't it? Something that'll scare us to death. Hey, Terry Shope, thanks for tuning in. Say hey back to you. Hi, John. Good morning, Anita says. Good morning to both of you guys. Thanks for joining in. Another hornet meme for you today. Get out of my way. The hornets are coming. I got to get my milk and my toilet paper, gang. What am I going to do? Oh, my goodness. The next thing to hoard, right? Some Raid, perhaps, or some off, or something to kill bees with. That'll be next. I thought this was humorous. Good morning, doctor. Ma'am, I'm your hairdresser. Oh, that deserves the funny laugh of the day. It certainly does. I'm your hairdresser. You know what just burns me up is we can't allow the hairdressers to be open when they're trained to do barbicide and trained professionals. I mean, they've been practicing safety for really years already with the techniques, the barbicide, the wearing the gloves. Now all they got to do is put on masks and all that. But now they're talking about allowing garage sales and creating orders about how to do your garage sale. But yet the hairdressers and the barbers aren't allowed to do their business yet. And in the meantime, as you can see, my hair is getting longer every single day. I'm just starting to let it get wispy and fly away. I like it. Hey, Bev, thanks for tuning in. My sister Bev's online. Appreciate you being here. Number 5 out of the Gale gang. They waited till they got it right. That was me. Number 6, and then they stopped because I was the only boy. And, well, you know the rest. I like this meme about Trump. I'm going to agree with the Democrats that President Trump was slow to react. He should have ran for president in 2008. Ain't that the truth? You know, if he did, we wouldn't have had to deal with all the mess that we've had since, including this Chinese thing. We won't talk about that. No. We'll leave that to the experts. I love this t-shirt. A young girl's wearing hiding from Biden. She better, because if he gets her hands on her, he'll be sniffing her hair for hours on end. And for all you churchgoers, Mrs. Jones got a little too used to watching online worship from home. She came to church in her pajamas and her bunny slippers with a cup of coffee and her hair all COVIDed out. Those are our funny memes for today. We're going to get right into some serious breaking news next. Bev's got the right idea. She says in her post just now, hairdressers need to have garage sales. That makes complete sense to me. Absolutely. This very disturbing news out of Tanzania. Tanzania has suspended the head of its national health laboratory in charge of testing for the coronavirus and ordered an investigation a day after President John Magufuli questioned the test's accuracy. Magufuli said on Sunday that the imported test kits were faulty and they had returned positive results on non-humans that he sent in to test them. He sent in samples from a goat, from a pawpaw plant. Remember the pawpaw plants in Jungle Book? Pawpaw. Anyway, I don't remember the song, but he sent in some pawpaw fruit juice among several other non-human samples, including a goat, and he submitted them for testing, with technicians left deliberately unaware of their origins. He didn't say where the test kits had been imported from or why the authorities had been suspicious of the results, but they all came back positive for COVID-19. Pawpaw fruit juice and some goat blood. Imagine that craziness. Hey, Casey Allen. Hey, guys, make sure you hit that like and share button. Give a thumbs up. Start a watch party. This is nuts. This is nuts. Are these tests that faulty that a pawpaw fruit tests positive for COVID-19? That a goat sample tests positive for COVID-19? Catherine Sungura, acting head of communications at the Ministry of Health, said in a statement on Monday that the director of the laboratory and its quality assurance manager had been immediately suspended to pave way for the investigation. Sungura said a 10-person committee has been formed to investigate the laboratory's operations, including its process of collecting and testing samples. On Sunday, Magufuli also fired the head of the government medical stores department, which is in charge of distributing medical supplies and equipment to government hospitals, but gave no reason as to why. As of Monday, Tanzania had recorded 480 cases of COVID-19 and 18 deaths, according to Reuters' tally based on government and WHO data. Unlike most other African countries, Tanzania sometimes goes for days without offering updates, with the latest bulletin on cases this past Wednesday. COVID-19 infections and fatalities reported across Africa have been relatively low compared with the United States, parts of Asia, and Europe. But Africa also has extremely low levels of testing, with rates of only around 500 tests per million people. What do you think of that? Goat blood testing positive for COVID-19. Pawpaw fruit juice testing positive for COVID-19. Something fishy is going on here. Moving on. For those of you Amy Acton lovers, I just got to jump on the, I just got to share my opinion on this. When Governor Mike DeWine wanted to change the date of the Ohio primary last month, he couldn't under the state's constitution. However, Dr. Amy Acton, the state's health director, could, and she did. By statute, she has the ability to make special or standing orders or rules for preventing the spread of contagious or infectious diseases. I did a little research on Amy Acton. You would think she might be an infectious disease specialist, or at least someone who has a lot of information in that regard. Her background? She was a part-time pediatrician. State Representative John Becker says that these authorities given to Dr. Acton go way too far. There's been an abuse of power, Becker told 5 News. As a result, he's introducing this week a bill titled Now, Need Ohio Working, that would make Dr. Acton's order recommendations that the General Assembly would have to vote up or down. It's time to stop the madness, you know. I think a lot of people thought this would run through the end of April and the beginning of May, he said. The concern, of course, initially was overrunning the healthcare system, right? And that may have been an overblown concern to begin with. Regardless, we're clearly on the downside of the curve, so that's no longer a factor that's on the table. So there's really no reason why we can't reopen the state of Ohio. So does that mean there's going to be potentially more infections and more deaths? Well, sure. But, you know, we have deaths from swimming pools and bathtubs and highway accidents, too, so we can't protect everybody from everything. Finally, someone makes some sense. Bev says a pediatrician that kills babies. Oh, Bev, I have so much more information. Make sure you keep watching. DeWine asked Monday if he would veto the measure if it were to pass and cross his desk this Now Need Ohio Working bill. He said he hasn't had a chance to look at the bill yet. Certainly, the legislature has every right to look at any law that exists today, But we have to deal with this problem, and this is a huge, huge problem, DeWine said, so I'll reserve my comment until I actually see the legislation. That means I don't know yet. Becker said that he had texted the House Speaker, Larry Householder. I said, hey, the media wants to know, is the Speaker supporting the bill? Because I didn't actually consult with him before writing it, Becker said. He said that the leadership had been drafting a bill all week, something of that nature, so it sounds like there's a leadership bill on the topic. Well, it looks like, and when it's going to be introduced, I don't know. So my bill is the only one that is out there. Apparently it is the first one out there, but it's going to be not the only one. Meanwhile, I posted this yesterday on my Facebook page. It's an old report from the Ohio Star back in December of 2019. Notorious abortionist. This is Haskell, the abortionist in southwestern Ohio, who lost his license. He got it back from a DeWine-appointed Department of Healthcare Director Amy Acton, the pediatrician that kills babies. Ohio pro-life group expected to see Dr. Martin Haskell's abortion clinic in Dayton closed for good last year. The abortionist, notorious for claiming to have invented partial birth abortion, failed to abide by the law requiring his facility to have a transfer agreement with a local hospital, and as a result had his license to operate denied. Haskell fought the revocation from 2014 all the way to the Ohio Supreme Court and lost on appeal twice, but he never closed during the process. In a surprise turn of events, pro-life Governor Mike DeWine, director of the Ohio Department of Health, Amy Acton, provided Haskell with a new license just days after the court loss. Why is that, Dr. Atkin? I thought you cared about life. Haskell changed the name of his clinic from the Women's Medical Center of Dayton to Women's Med Dayton, and then filed for a new license, and guess what? He got it. Some pro-life groups are linking Director Amy Acton to abortion supporters NARAL, and Planned Parenthood, and also noted her political support for President Barack Obama, insinuating that she does not share her governor's pro-life values. Why did Mike DeWine? Why didn't he vet her? Operation Rescue, a pro-life organization, penned new Ohio Department of Health director with ties to abortion charities keeps discredited abortion facility open. Again, this is back from December of 2019, but it gives you a little backstory about Amy Acton and her policies, her belief system, and then recently, in regard to the order from Dave Youst to close the abortion clinics because they were considered non-essential surgical procedures, for some reason, Dr. Atkin overrode that rule, and abortion clinics remain open to this day, even though they're using valuable PPEs. During the 2008 presidential campaign, Amy and her entire family were featured in a Wired.com article published on March 3rd of 2008. Amy Beach, her previous name, she recently had been divorced, was a volunteer organization for the Obama campaign who organized events, managed email lists, and engaged potential voters on Facebook. Certainly gives her the qualifications to become the Ohio Department of Health director, being a part-time pediatrician, not an infectious disease specialist. She stands up there and, she gives her little speeches with her lab coat on, which she doesn't need to wear a lab coat. I don't know why she's doing that other than to look like she's doctoral. Doctari! I wanted to share a couple of things. I, for one, personally, it's just one of the many reasons this last report that I will never support the actions of Dr. Amy Atkin. Ever, ever, ever. Here she is walking the halls with Governor Mike DeWine on March 14th. Notice anything? Oh, let's see. She's holding a mask, but she's standing right next to him, nearly probably just 2 feet apart. Not social distancing at all in the hallways of the Ohio Capitol building, after probably a recent daily news briefing / Regis and Kathy Lee show. Practice what you preach, Dr. Atkin. Bev says it's all about the money. And Terry Shope says, boo, he's sad about it. I, for one, will not be going out and buying the brand new Mike DeWine, Amy Acton, and the Interpreter bobbleheads. I might get the Interpreter bobbleheads. She's pretty cool lady. Looks like Mike DeWine's doppelganger, but you know. Needless to say, I mean, there's simply a love fest, especially by the left, for Amy Acton. All you got to do is do some research online. And matter of fact, many Christians are caught up. They're caught up in this. I think they're keeping us safe. You know what the problem with that is, the government keeping you safe, is that they will slowly strip every single freedom from us, and to the point of we are communists. You may say, oh, John, that's extreme. Would you have thought 2 months ago that it would be extreme to be told that you couldn't leave your home, that you couldn't have any more than 10 people near you, that you had to stand 6 feet apart, that you weren't allowed to any longer worship at church with your church family, that you would have to wear masks at Walmart and Kroger's? Would you have ever thought that those freedoms would be taken from you for the sake of safety, for a virus that has a 99% rate of no infection, just 1%, and just 0.2% of that 1% passing away from the virus? Would you have ever thought you would have lost those freedoms? That's my question for you today. Moving on to some other news reports this morning. I don't mean to be negative about all this. It's just very disturbing to me. Trump has ordered meat plants to stay open. More than 100 workers at a meatpacking plant in Oklahoma have tested positive for the coronavirus. David Ehart, a spokesman for Seaboard Foods, which runs the plant, said in a statement on Monday that at least 116 employees at the pork processing plant, which is located in Texas County, have tested positive. The plant employs some 2,700 people, he said. Our message to employees continues to be, if you don't feel well, stay at home. Contact your healthcare provider and get tested. Ehart said in a statement that the company has implemented a temporary COVID-19 leave policy and support plan to help employees who fall ill to the virus. In the meantime, our food supply is interestingly becoming a shortage. Have you watched this video from a farmer? The farmer's name is Shad Sullivan. Take a couple minutes and watch this.
Hey everybody, this is Shad Sullivan coming to you from the headwaters of Bitter Creek, Archer County, North Texas. We have to talk. State officials will be assisting to help identify potential alternative markets if a producer is unable to move animals, and if necessary, advise and assist on depopulation and disposal methods. Ladies and gentlemen, we are plowing under vegetable crops from coast to coast. We are euthanizing millions of chickens. We are aborting sows and burying feeder pigs. We are dumping milk by the hundreds of thousands of gallons, and now they are preparing us to depopulate the fat cattle ready to harvest because of a bottleneck created by the effects of COVID. This thing hasn't been created by COVID, right, but the effects of COVID and the logistics therein. We are in trouble. Our food supply is in trouble, and I am appealing to producers and consumers across the nation to start calling. Yesterday, the first shipment of imported beef from the country of Namibia hit the shores of the United States of America. And yet this morning, they are telling us to prepare to euthanize harvest-ready cattle. Am I the only one that sees a problem in this?
What? And he's not, guys. He is not the only farmer that is speaking out about this. What does this mean to the American public? Well, I'll tell you one thing. It definitely means a supply issue in regards to meat and vegetables. I don't know if you've seen, but he's right. Some of the other stories, here's Tyson Foods, help to create a meat crisis it warns against, just to prove his point. John Tyson, the billionaire whose family business reigns at least the largest meat processor in the United States, it took out ads in national papers to complain about a breaking food supply chain problem. No one would argue that supplies aren't an issue right now. Even Donald Trump is invoking the Defense Production Act to secure meat production. But the roots of this problem goes back to decades of consolidation that Tyson's own company helped lead. Tyson Foods Incorporated and its top two rivals, JBSSA and Cargill Incorporated, control about 2/3 of America's beef, and the large bulk of it gets processed in a few dozen giant plants. Pork and chicken are similarly dominated. Well, Tyson pointed out the pandemic has affected businesses of all sizes. The producers, which also include Smithfield Foods Incorporated, have such a stranglehold on output that it leaves the supply chain with few remedies when even just a handful of plants are down. There have been 12 closures at U.S. slaughter plants this month alone because of coronavirus outbreaks among employees that we just heard about. That'll wipe out roughly 25% of pork processing capacity and 10% for beef, enough for analysts to say that the country was weeks away from shortfalls. Meat prices, in the meanwhile, are already surging. The cost of meat, guys, is going to go drastically up. Our food supply is in shortage. Potatoes by the mounds, we reported last week. A mountain of potatoes. Plowed under, piled up to rot in the sun, because restaurants didn't need those potatoes and they had contracts with the restaurants, so those all went to waste. Well, some didn't, some the public got. And I was glad to hear about a pork facility in Indiana that was now selling pigs to the public if you bought them in large amounts of 10 or more pigs. I think you could get one for like $150 or something, $175 a pig. And I think you had to butcher it yourself, but they were at least willing to do that. If you haven't started your own garden, here is a great opportunity to go get some seeds. If you're in Michigan, you can't do that, but here in Ohio, you can run over to Walmart or Rural King or someplace like that and pick yourself some seeds and start a little garden in your backyard. You might be thankful for that this fall. Just to reiterate his point, piglets aborted, chickens euthanized as pandemic slams the meat sector. Let's move on. The owner of the Dallas salon that has been sentenced to jail, she's been sentenced to 7 days in jail and fined thousands of dollars for openly defying the state, county, and city government mandates by reopening her salon for business and refusing to reclose amid the coronavirus shutdown. Shelley Luther, here pictured, who owns Salon a la Mode, reopened her business on April 30th in violation of Texas statewide lockdown on businesses deemed non-essential. She argued that she was behind on her mortgage, along with several of the 19 stylists who work at her salon, and that the government didn't have any right to prohibit citizens from working to provide for their families. Why is it that big business is allowed to continue operating, such as Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, those types of places, but small business owners are shut down? Luther was issued a citation from the city of Dallas, followed by a cease and desist letter and a restraining order from the county, yet she stood her ground and continued to operate. On Tuesday, Dallas Civil District Judge Eric Moye, who issued the restraining order, found Luther both criminally and civilly in violation of the order, according to WFAA-TV. She was also found to be in violation of Governor Greg Abbott's stay-at-home order. Moy sentenced Luther to 7 days in jail and a $7,000 fine. According to KTVT-TV, the judge told Luther he would consider not giving her jail time if she would agree to close until the governor's order was lifted, and if she admitted that she was wrong, that she was selfish, and that she would apologize to the elected officials whose orders she violated. I have much respect for this court, she said, and the laws. I have never been in this position before, and it's not someplace that I want to be in, but I have to disagree with you, sir, when you say that I'm selfish, because feeding my kids is not selfish. I have hairstylists that are going hungry because they'd rather feed their kids. So, sir, if you think the law is more important than kids getting fed, then please go ahead with your decision, but I am not going to shut down. Yeah, you know what I say to that? I say, let's give her some claps. Let's give her some claps. Shelley Luther, good for you, sis. Good for you. Moving on today, the Blaze reports also, Nobel Prize-winning scientist has shared that COVID-19 data showing strict lockdowns were an overreaction. Professor Michael Levitt, who teaches structural biology at the Stanford School of Medicine, he won the 2013 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the development of multi-scale models for complex chemical systems. According to Levitt, coronavirus data show that sweeping lockdown measures were an overreaction that may actually backfire. The tornado sirens that you hear in the background, don't worry, it's not a COVID invasion. It is just the first Wednesday of the month. In Ohio, that's when we do our tornado siren testing. Levitt had been analyzing the COVID-19 outbreak from a statistical perspective since January and has been remarkably accurate in his predictions. The data show that outbreak never actually grew exponentially, suggesting harsh lockdown measures, which have drastically impacted the world economy, were probably unnecessary. More and more people are in agreement. Hey, Alan Johns, thanks for tuning in, brother. I appreciate you being here today. Chefs from some of New York's top city restaurants are now leaving the business to work for billionaires after losing their jobs to the coronavirus, the New York Post has learned. Out-of-work chefs from restaurants, including Jean Georges, Daniel, 11 Madison Park, Per Se, and Gramercy Tavern, I never even heard of any of them, are being poached by talent agents and even real estate brokers to work for wealthy families since the coronavirus shutdowns have eviscerated the restaurant industry, sources say. The supply of quality chefs is so abundant that some wealthy people say that getting cold call about the latest candidate. Can you believe that? So sad. We are in a sad state of affairs, guys, when top chefs are now working for individual families because they can't work in their restaurants anymore. Why? Because the states won't let them. Moving on today, an ex-New York Times reporter blasts the governors over infuriating lockdowns. They are fools and haven't read the data. Former New York Times reporter Alex Barrison, the most prominent critic on the models informing lawmakers' response to the coronavirus crisis, told Tucker Carlson tonight on Tuesday that local leaders should allow Americans to get back to work while protecting the most vulnerable populations. That's how it should be done. Protect the nursing homes, protect the elderly. 98% of all of the deaths are like 70 plus. I'm getting sick of people saying we don't know much about this virus. We don't know enough to know what the right steps are, Berenson said. If that's true, why have we shut down the world if we didn't know anything about it? We do know a lot about the virus, and we know the average death in the United States and worldwide is probably about 80 to 82 years of age. Wow. And we know about half, if not more, of the people who die in the United States die in nursing homes. About half or more of the people who die from COVID-19 die in nursing homes. We know enough to know we should protect these people. And instead, our leaders are spending time haranguing us about masks and destroying the economy with lockdowns. And every day it makes less and less sense. And every day it's more infuriating. You got it, brother. Hey, Carol, thanks for tuning in, sis. I appreciate you being here. Give us a thumbs up and make sure you share today. Berenson, who primarily covered the pharmaceutical industry during his time with the paper, told Carlson that he has been waiting for the reality of the data to start to hit people. He specifically criticizes leader in Oregon, New York, and Illinois for imposing unrealistic benchmarks in lifting their respective lockdowns. If they don't know, they are fools and haven't read the data, which is publicly available on their own government websites, Berenson said. I've been waiting for the reality and the data to start to hit people, and it's been very slow. Many states have these phased-in lockdown plans that have very, very unrealistic benchmarks. Oregon's benchmarks are crazy. New York, Illinois' benchmarks. Many of the blue state lockdown states have these benchmarks that are very difficult to meet. It's going to take people in the streets, he wondered. Is it going to take people in the streets? That seems to have helped a little bit in California last week, but I don't know what it's going to take for people. Not people, but lawmakers to start being realistic here. Wow. Wow. So guys, here's my point today. Go start a garden today in your backyard. Go pick up a few plants at Walmart. They've got tomatoes, they got potatoes, tomatoes. Yeah, that great, funny meme. But anyway, you can go get yourself a few little veggie starters, or go buy some seed and start some seed. In 6 weeks, you'll have little starters that you can plant outside. Start a garden. Go out and get your limit of 3 packs of chicken and put it in the freezer today and go back tomorrow. I don't want anybody to hoard meat. I really don't, because it's not fair to everyone else. But you know what? Go get yourself some canned goods. Be ready for a shortage this fall and food prices to skyrocket. And that's it for today's edition of the Hyperactive Conservative. In all of this, remember, God is sovereign and he is in control. He is our provider and we have nothing to fear in him. He gives good things to his children. And if you're not a child of his, I encourage you to reach out today. Say a simple little prayer. Lord, I need you. Jesus, come into my heart. Forgive me of all my sins. Here's your chance to get right with the Lord. Amen. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, Thursday, for our next edition of the Hyperactive Conservative at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Until then, make sure you wash your hands, be safe out there, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.